Well, good morning, everyone. How's it going today? Let's get everybody on our feet. We're going to do something a little different today. Warren made a suggestion that we need to get into it, all right? Let's do that. Everybody take a big, deep breath and let's sing our brains out. We find the door to the trying to find. We find the door to letting the light. Bring in the song for you and mine. We find the doors of this heart of mine. We find the doors of the time is right. We find the doors to letting the light. Bring in the song for you and mine. We find the doors of this heart of mine.
Newcomers table at the back of the sanctuary. Just fill out the blue piece of paper, take it to the bookstore to get a new packet of information. And we're so grateful that each and every one of you are here, whether you're new or old. Nobody old here. And if you're watching online, either live or watching later, we are grateful for your attention and for your interest in what we're doing here at Unity of London. So we have a few announcements to begin with. The first is, so we want you to turn off your cell phone during the service, but we want you to let people know that you're here. So feel free to text or take a picture of me. I'm at Unity of London and listening to Reverend Laurie talk about love today. And also remember to take pictures of any posters that you see in our facility and then post those on Facebook so people know what's going on here. And the next announcement is, okay, so the sock drop. If you've seen the tree at the back, it's filled with socks and hats and mitts, and that's just fabulous. Thank you so much. And today they're going to, I think Peggy and Pauline are going to take some of the items off the tree, if not all of them, and make a contribution to, is it going to the men's shelter or home?
The men's shelter, the Arc Street, 8th Street Mission to ANOVA.
Oh, okay.
Women's shelter, and you know what, the other one has slipped my mind.
Okay, so a lot of great facilities, so thank you. And so they're going to take those. But we're actually collecting until January 26th, so it will be empty, and as we know, whenever something is empty or whenever there's a vacuum, the universe always fills it in. So we invite you to, if you haven't contributed already, or if you want to contribute again, then please bring in some more. Oh, and the raffle in the bookstore, have you seen that beautiful basket? Oh my gosh, thank you to Amber. Amber and her elves, well, maybe her husband, I don't know, but have been out shopping for all the things in the basket, and the tickets are on sale, and the draw is next week. 1 ticket for $2, 3 for $5, and the proceeds go to Unity, so thank you so much for that. Okay, so we are continuing on our Advent journey where we are coming to a tangible experience of feeling the power and the presence of God as us, moving through us. And each week on our Advent journey, we're focusing on a different quality of being. So the first week we focused on faith. Is there someone here who would like to light the faith candle? Because that would be meaningful for you. Just come on up and light that candle. Okay. And so you'll light one of the, probably the shortest purple candle. That was the first week. And then the second week, last week, we talked about peace. And so if there's someone that would like to just have that feeling of renewing peace within them, if you would come forward and light the peace candle. And you could just come on up now. Thank you. And then the last one is our third purple candle, the tallest one that has not been lit yet. And it's going to be about love. As we develop our quality of love. Thank you, Bart. Bart's going to light our love candle. And we'll be talking and exploring that in the lesson today. Thank you, ladies, for doing that. Okay. And so let's stand and sing.
This carol is about 150 years old. Do a little research into this. I'm sure you know it, and if you don't, just call the person next Oh, tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go, tell it on the mountain, that Jesus Christ is born.
As you know, Unity's foundation is affirmative prayer. That means Unity defines prayer as the most highly accelerated mind action known. It is an affirmation of truth and a communion between you and all that is. Through prayer, the mind is renewed and circumstances transformed. If you wish prayer for someone else or for yourself, you're invited to use our prayer box just up here in the front. Put a first name only on a piece of paper, place it in a box. No need to explain the situation, as Divine Mind is all-knowing. It'll be prayed over here at Unity by our prayer angels for about 30 days, and then sent on to Silent Unity for additional prayer. Remember, 24 hours a day you can call 1-800-NOW-PRAY to reach Silent Unity, where people have been praying with and for people for over 130 years. If you wish private one-on-one prayer, or the sharing of healing energy, our prayer chaplain will be available in the prayer room, just through the door, up the stairs. And today's prayer chaplain is Sylvia. Please come forward to lead us in prayer.
So I invite you to close your eyes if it makes you feel comfortable and settle into your heart space. Feel your heart beating. Knowing that that is spirit, that is love flowing through you from each and every one of us, back and forth and around us. And as we have our prayer today, we come together with gratitude, knowing that each and every service that's happening around the world today will be blessed. We see not only unity centers, but all spiritual gatherings, warming the hearts of people, sharing love, and in particular, we hold Unity of Montreal in our prayer. We also hold all the people that are part of Unity of London that are not able to be here today. We see the sick being healed. We see the travelers arriving safe. And we see all the people that we love and know also feeling the love that we share. This morning I feel called to hold the children of the world in our prayer. That they know that they are loved regardless of how busy the adults around them are worrying and scurrying and going about. The children feel the love of the universe that we share at this moment. We know that this service will be blessed, as will the people that hear the words and the music, and of course our fellowship. We are grateful knowing this is so. Thank you. Amen.
Thank you, Sylvia. And now for our message from the Daily Word, brought to you by Silent Unity. Love. I immerse myself in God's love. God's love is a gift that each member of the human family shares. It is the love that binds us together and gives us the ability to create harmony in the world. When we make the decision to think, feel, and act lovingly, we live as the love that we are, and the love between us blossoms and grows. Today, I immerse myself in the awareness of God's love within me. My heart overflows with a renewed and growing awareness of this love that creates and sustains me. I am motivated to give of myself in service to others. I release old resentments and offer forgiveness to those who have hurt me. I smile and I share my joy. I embrace oneness with God and harmony with all people. And now faith, hope, and love abide, these three. And the greatest of these is love.
And I'm a big, oh, sorry. Sure. That's what I say. No, it's fine. Just stepping between. Christmas has always been a very important part of the year for me since I was a little child, because in my family and in our church, it was the event of the year. And this is one of my favorite songs from my childhood. And we did a little research into this and discovered that nobody really knows who wrote this, either the words or the lyrics. There's all sorts of theories about some king of Portugal may have written it, and Handel may have written the music and so on. But you know the song for sure, so if you want to join in, you please feel free to do that. Hit it, kid. Oh, come, all ye things. the King of angels. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him, Christ the Lord. Sing, choirs of angels, sing in exaltation. Sing, all ye citizens of heaven above. Glory to God in the highest. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him, Christ the Lord. Hail, Lord, we greet thee, for this happy morning. Jesus, forevermore thy name be adored. Word of the Father, now in flesh appearing. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him, Christ the Lord.
And I was remiss in not saying thank you to Jim and Carlin for the wonderful Thursday night Christmas concert and all of the people that the musicians he invited to come and bless us. It was wonderful. Thank you so much.
All of the musicians.
They all donated their time and the funds came back here to Unity, so we are so blessed and grateful.
Transitions hard, so. Unless you.
Ah, there we go. So, a man was invited to another gentleman's home for Christmas dinner, and he observed as the host was asked to do different things for his wife. Every time the host would answer the wife, he would say, "Yes, my love, yes, honey, yes, darling," and he always preceded everything with these beautiful pet names. And so the man said to the host, "Well, after all these years of marriage, isn't it wonderful that you still use all these beautiful pet names for your wife?" And the host responded, "Yes, well, the truth is, I forgot her name." So today is the third Sunday of Advent, and love is the theme, as you saw earlier. It's interesting that we learn so many things. We read books, we go to lectures and such, and yet things can go out of our mind. And we've certainly learned about love a lot in our life, and yet we too can be forgetful, just like the host. We can forget to be loving in a moment when there's some angst going on. We can forget the power of love to heal, because it's a harmonizing power that heals discords. We can forget to be loving with all of the people around us and to know that our divine nature is love. We can forget that. And so hopefully today we'll be able to remember a bit more about love and the way that it shows up in our lives. When I was a young girl, it's going ahead of me here. Oh. Let's try again. Okay. When I was a young girl and practicing in the tradition that I was raised in, I was raised, I believe, at least this was my perception, I was raised to believe that Jesus was perfect. Did anyone else have that idea that Jesus was perfect? And yet, as I have grown into my spirituality, I realized that Jesus wasn't perfect. He got angry. We read about that in the temple when the money changers were there. He became impatient. He often was impatient with the disciples when they weren't quite getting it. And he's like, when are you guys going to get it? And he could become quite irritable, and he could curse. He cursed the fig tree and maybe some other things too. So we've learned in our maturity that Jesus was not perfect. And maybe sometimes he made the naughty list, if you can see this. Okay, so we have a jumpy PowerPoint today. So young Jesus at bath time. At first when I looked at that, I thought, what's the problem? Oh yeah, he's walking on the water instead of getting in. Okay, so he probably could be naughty. After all, he was having a human experience. So I want to share with you today from the Gospel of Mark, chapter 12. One of the scribes of the law came and heard them debating. Noticing that Jesus had given them a good answer, he asked them, "Of all the commandments, which is the most important?" "The most important one," answered Jesus, "is this: Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your strength. The second is this: love your neighbor as yourself. There is no commandment greater than these." "Well said, teacher," the man replied. "You are right in saying that God is one, and there is no other but him. To love him with all your heart, with all your understanding, with all your strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself is more important than all burnt offerings and sacrifices." When Jesus saw that he had answered wisely, he said to him, "You are not far from the kingdom of God." And from then on, no one dared ask him any more questions. Jesus was certainly observant that this young scribe was saying that, burnt offerings and sacrifices are so important, but this is more important than that. I want you to imagine for a moment that Jesus is walking in the room. And as he's walking in the room, he's coming up the side here, and he's taking a look at each and every one of you, making eye contact. And you feel the love of this beautiful spiritual teacher. Pure love. And you get to ask him one question. One. Now maybe you have one burning question in you that you think if you just knew the answer to this question, that you'd have no more anxieties, no more problems in your life. You would be able to show up perfectly. You've got this one question. Well, that's kind of the essence of what happened for this scribe. Let me tell you about the scribes of that time. The scribes were those people, communities of men that would copy manuscripts. And they were very, very diligent. So when they began copying a manuscript, they would always start with prayer and talk about how this was going to be done in the name of God. And they would look at the manuscript and they would read a line, then they would speak it aloud, and then they would write it. When they finished copying a manuscript, they counted up every word and all the letters in every word and looked to match that number with the number of the original manuscript. Then they would take page by page and they would compare. And they would look to see what word is in the middle of the original manuscript page and which is in the middle of the page I've copied, my copy. And they would do all of this in an effort to not make a mistake. And it said that if they made a mistake writing out, copying, and they made a mistake in particular writing the name of God, they had to tear up that page and start that page again. So we're talking about a very detail-oriented person. Okay, you get that? These people are very detail-oriented. And so about that question, which of the commandments is the most important, I used to think there's only 10. Like, it can't be that difficult to understand which one. I mean, love, right? Love. But in Jewish laws, there were 613 Jewish commandments. 613. And the scribes tried to live by these commandments. So, if putting that into perspective, you can imagine that his question was an important one. Because out of 613, I want to know, let's get to the core. Like, what's really going to make a difference in my life? What's the one that I really have to know and live by in order to get to the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven? So the scribe was walking by this group of people that were debating. It was Passover week, and he stopped because he overheard some of Jesus' answers, and he was very impressed. And he thought, wow, I have an opportunity to ask my question of this holy man. And so he had that opportunity to ask the question. And Jesus answered. The first is, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. And you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. Now, metaphysically, we have some interpreting here, because the word hear means to dig deeper. And O Israel means spiritual consciousness. And so he's saying, with your spiritual consciousness, dig deeper into this question and understand that God is all there is. And if God is all there is, and Jesus talked about how God is in us, just like our second unity principle, then of course God has to be everywhere, and there is only one power and one presence, one God. And then Jesus goes on to say that you shall love him with everything that you have. Now, when we talk about God, we could take that word out and put in the word love. You shall experience love both intellectually, both in your soul experience, which has the history of your life experience in it. You can love using strength. You know, there are times when we don't feel loving, right? We don't really want to love another person because they're irritating us, we're frustrated, we're disappointed. But we're being told, love with all your strength. So obviously, Jesus knows that you have the strength in order to do this loving. Otherwise, he wouldn't be talking about it this way. So love the Lord, love God, love life, love all that is with everything you've got. It's right here. You don't have to go out and get it. It's right here. You have the power. The power of love is the power that binds everything together in the universe. It's the harmonizing power that heals discords. It is the power within us, the spiritual consciousness, that reminds us that everywhere we look, we have an opportunity to see God, because God is everywhere we look. In every person, God is there. Put God first. Put God first. Stay out of fear and put God first. Because when we're in fear, we stop that flow of God within us, and we don't want to do that. So, who is your neighbor? Well, as this picture would show us, okay, as this picture would show us, our neighbor is not just the person that lives next door to us. Our neighbor is the person across the world that we've never met. Our neighbor is the stranger walking down the street that we've never seen before. Our neighbor is other people. It's everyone in this church community. It's everyone in every church community that is occurring today. Our neighbor is every person, everywhere. So how did Jesus love without judgment? most of the time. Well, he kept his heart open. That's the way that we love, without judgment. Michael Singer said, don't get dizzy. Michael Singer said, keep our hearts open by not letting them close. Keep our hearts open by not letting them close. That sounds pretty simple, right? But what is it that closes our heart? It's fear. There's a lady that tells a story of looking out her house window, the second story. She saw these teenage boys, and it was wintertime. They came up her driveway and they pulled out one of those stakes, you know, the ones that are where you're trying to tell the snowplow not to drive over your lawn, right? They often drive over the stakes, but anyways, they pulled out one of these stakes and they started walking down the driveway. And she's like, what are those boys doing? Like, are they going to try and break into our house? And she's getting all in a fret. But then at that point, she saw her husband walk outside. And he said, hey, boys, how are you doing? I want you to know that we're going to need that stake to help us with the snowplow not running over our lawn, so you'll need to put it back. And then he proceeded to talk to them and got to know them a bit. And basically, they were just cutting through to, you know, like we cut through yards to get to the street behind. We can get into that place of fear very easily when we don't know other people. We don't know what they're up to. And we start building stories. And as we build these stories, trying to figure out what they're doing, we start to close our heart. And love can't flow because we're closing down. And when we close down, we don't speak what's in our heart. We don't show up the way that we want to because we're afraid. We're in fear. There's a wonderful story of St. Francis Assisi, and he's walking down a street. And he has this fear, as many people probably did. He had a fear of lepers because, of course, he was afraid that he would become diseased if he touched one. And so as he was walking down this narrow pathway, he saw this ghostly white leper starting to walk towards him. And his heart just closed. And he just felt like everything was going in. And he started to feel the fear. What should I do? What should I do? I should run and hide. I should go the other direction. But something stopped in him and caught him. And something just said, love. And so he, instead of running away, he walked up to the leper. He put his arms around him and he kissed him on the cheek. And then St. Francis of Assisi continued on his walk. A few moments later, he turned around to look back, and the leper was gone. He believed all through his life that the leper was actually Jesus the Christ, and that Jesus had shown up in a teaching moment to say, don't close your heart, open your heart to everybody, no matter how they show up, no matter how diseased, no matter how ill that they might be. If they're mentally ill, they're not quite, not quite with it. We might tend to cross the street and walk on the other side. Open our hearts, keep them open, stay out of fear. There was a fellow who was searching for love, and it seems like the line "in all the wrong places" should follow that. But he was searching for love, and he asked many questions, and he finally found where the person who had the more love than anyone in the world, he found out where she was. So he got a map to direct him to find this woman. She was way up on a hill, a mountain somewhere. She was quite old and lived quite simply. So when he found her, they greeted each other. And he asked her, I'm searching for love. I want to know if you can tell me where I can find it. Maybe you have some love to give me. And she looked at him with a compassionate look and an open heart, and she said, continue your journey and find 3 acts of love, one by a man, one by a woman, and one by a child, and then come back to me. So he went off and he searched and he found, and he came back to her and he said, I found what you told me to go looking for. Would you like me to tell you about it? And she said, not necessary. The only thing that is necessary is for you to go out and perform those acts of love. And then you will feel what love is. You know, love is something that we could try and talk about on, but really, it can have a different meaning for every person. But if we look at what Jesus was telling us about love, you know, he's saying that God is everywhere, so God is in everyone. What isn't there to love? People show up, they act kind of crazy sometimes in our perception, but we can still love them because we can recognize the divine in them. It's there. It's there somewhere. Peel back the behaviors and you'll find it. And it's not for us to judge their activity. It's just to sort of look at them and say, you know, that's just Bob. That's just Susie. Bob's here today, so I had to put him in there. You know, is our love conditional or is our love unconditional? Conditional means that people have to be a certain way in order to get our love. Unconditional is where we say, that's just them. You know, I love them in spite of that. That behavior that I'm calling bad or I'm not happy with it is really about me, but so I can just let them be who they are. That's unconditional love. And when we go back to Jesus' teaching, to love our neighbor, as we love ourselves. We don't often love ourselves. That seems to be a difficult journey in our society. But to love ourselves, put a different spin on it, is to love the fact that the activity of God is alive and well in me, and it is blessing my life. And when I can truly know that, then I can share that with my neighbor. When I can feel it, I can share it with other people. Love. Nothing is more important in any moment than love. So I hope this week that whatever you're doing, moving through your day, that love will be the first thing that comes to mind. Am I being love in this, a loving presence in this moment? And I think that'll course correct you a number of times during the week. And so let's take that into meditation.
Surely the presence of love is in this place. I can feel its mighty power and its grace. I can hear the brush of angels' wings, see glory on each face. Surely the presence of love is in this place. Surely the presence of love is in this place. I can feel its mighty power and its grace. I can hear the brush of angels' wings, see glory on each face. Surely the presence of love is in this place.
So we relax into our seats and close our eyes. Let your feet touch the floor if your legs are long enough. And just breathe. Relax your shoulders down. Surely the presence of love is in this place. There's absolutely no question about that, because we are here. And because we are walking expressions of God essence, vibrating the essence of God, the essence of love. So we breathe into that love. Just take it in and let it fill you up. And that's a conscious exercise, because we know that really everything is an inward, outward experience. The love is already in us, but we need to just remember that. So who is it in your life that needs love? Is it you? Is it someone in your life? Your family? At work? Just bring this person to mind. There's a huge field in front of you, and it's a bright, sunny, blue sky day. And in this field, it's almost like you're up on a hill and you're looking down on it, and in this field you can see a huge red heart shaped with red flowers, and in the middle there's just green grass. And put yourself or that person right in the middle of that heart. And the person, even yourself, might be a little apprehensive about being there. They're not sure. There might be some fear. What does it mean to be loved? What does it mean to accept someone else's love? What does it mean to love myself? And really all that we're being asked to do is to open the flow of the activity of God within us and let it flow through us, blessing us, enriching us, and flow through the other person or persons. It's all love, it's all God, it's all the universal energy, it's all light. And it's ours to be in the flow of that. So sit for a moment and just pour love into the person that is in the midst of that beautiful flower heart. On your next in-breath, just picture love flowing in through the bottom of your feet, up through your legs. And the next breath, the love fills you up for more. And the next breath, it fills you to the top of your head. And the next in-breath, the love goes out through the top of your head into the world, but more love comes in through the bottom of your feet. And there's this constant cycle. We can never deplete love. We're in the flow of love because we're the activity of God, of all that is. Take that feeling of warmth, that vibratory feeling of wholeness, of strength, and let it fuel you for the week and beyond in a very conscious way. So we take another deep breath in. We let it out. We bless the person in our circle, in the midst of our flower heart. We release them. And so it is. And so we let it be. Amen.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah,
Thank you, Reverend Lori, for that lovely message on love and loving your neighbor. I must admit, during the meditation, I had a bit of a tough time stuffing certain politicians from all around the world into that heart. But I'll keep working. Now it's our time for giving and receiving our tithes and offerings. Our unity principles teach us we are one with divine source, and so we give not to source, but as source. Giving has been described as a spiritual practice of radical generosity, giving to what we wish to see flourish. Giving puts us in the flow of divine abundance. By the back door of the sanctuary, on the wall, you will find intention cards. These may also be placed in the offering bag. This week, our prayer angels will uphold your intentions for what you want to achieve, either as a plan for your day or for your life. Now let us affirm our prosperity together by singing our offering blessing.
Find love through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. Reverend Lori, I hope you'll forgive me if I take just a second to tell a story about what you just spoke about, described, because it's a wonderful story and it's very true. But like most groups of human beings, they weren't always bang on the money. There are several hundred, actually there's more than 1,500 original manuscripts from the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, up to about the 12th and 13th centuries that biblical scholars work with. And one was discovered in the middle of the 20th century, and it was one of the Gospels. And the experts, the biblical scholars that looked at it, could not make sense out of it. It seemed like gibberish. And several of the most renowned scholars in the world pored over this particular manuscript to see if they could decipher what it was about. Obviously, it was a gospel, but it made no sense. Till one of them recognized and realized that the originals that these were copied from had 2 columns on the page. You may have seen pictures of the old the scrolls and so on. 2 columns on the page, and this particular fellow realized one day, the story goes, he was having dinner one night, and it just suddenly dawned on him, and he rushed off to his study and pulled up this manuscript. And what had happened was one of these well-meaning scribes, for reasons known only to him, maybe it was an inside joke, or maybe he was just tired or lazy, we don't know, he had copied right across the 2 columns as though they were one line. And as soon as they realized that what happened, it immediately made sense, because you just went on so many, oh, there's the end of that sentence and so on. So while most of them were very, 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 very careful about what they did, there's the occasional one that either wasn't careful or had a bit of a sense of humor. Anyway.
He's on the naughty list.
Yeah. Sam, don't listen to that. This is another Unity original that we created for us, for our congregation here. And it sums up the 3 things that, again, when I was a child at Christmas time, 3 things that were very important in my household, and at our church too. They preach this, but very important in our household.
that three of the things in Christmas that really can make a wonderful difference to your life is the idea of faith, because it renews our faith, hope, because it's the birth of Christ, and that gives us hope for the future, and charity, because it's a wonderful time of year to remember those other people who may not be as lucky as we are. We light the lights of Christmas, so the faith that they will shine. We sing the ancient carols, in faith they will remind us of all the many blessings that Christmas can provide. Some people say that Christmas is the saddest time of year. For those who live a loveless life, and those who live in fear. But in faith we find protection, and in love we find the way. We have faith in Christmas, and faith in what will be. We'll feel hope's open power and the grace of charity. We have faith in Christmas and the message that it brings. Our faith will be rewarded with every bell that rings. Faith is like a silent friend, always by our side, bringing hope and charity wherever we may find, wrapping us in holy grace to last throughout the year, and wrapping us in holy grace to last throughout the year. We have faith in Christmas, and faith in what will be. We'll feel the awesome power and the grace of charity. If we have faith in Christmas, and the message that it brings, our faith will be rewarded with every bell that rings. It's faith that leads us home again when we have gone astray, and faith and hope and charity that light up Christmas Day. Faith and spirit, hope for peace and charity for all, at this special time of year when holly decks the halls. We light the lights of Christmas in faith that they will shine. We sing the ancient carols, in faith they will remind us of all the many blessings Christmas spirit can provide. If we have faith in Christmas and faith in what will be, we'll feel hope's awesome power and the grace of charity. If we have faith in Christmas and the message that it brings, our faith will be rewarded with every bell that rings.
Thank you, Jim. You wrote that. Very wonderful. Very wonderful. Love the words. So let's go to our heart space and bless these offerings and the givers of these gifts. That the energy may be used to send forth the love that is here in this room and represented by all the people a part of this community, that it may go out and bless the larger London community. May it do all that it needs to do to prosper this ministry. And so we are grateful. Amen. Amen. I want to remind you that next Sunday is our 12-hour, bless you, candlelighting service. And if you haven't signed up to light one of the 12-hour candles, there's a sign-up sheet on the back table. I've got all the readers that I need, but I still need some candle holders. So if you would like to do that, then please sign up for those. And so let's stand and sing. I Choose Love.
Peace in my life is growing because I choose love. Love's always present, it's what I'm made of. I choose love. We are a part of each other. We are one. One tie that binds us that can't be undone. I choose love. Peace for our planet is growing because I choose love. Let love be present, it's what we're made of. I choose love. We are all part of each other. We are one. One choice unites us, let this be the one. I choose love. I choose love. I choose love.
Well, I think there's little else to say except that. I choose love, right? I choose love. So we pray a prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds me. I am light. The love of God enfolds me. I am love. The power of God protects me. I am power. And the presence of God watches over me. I am presence. Wherever I am, God is. I am divine.
Come on, y'all want to say it.
Oh,